Alright, hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 4 of My Hero Academia, which released today. I'm caught up again, wonderful. So, I just finished watching last episode. Last episode we got some really nice stuff regarding the one for all power. The one for all power. And we got the beginning of Class A versus Class B. There's not really much to say, it's all pretty self-explanatory. We're on Shinso's team right now, we're gonna see what he's capable of. So yeah, I'm interested to see what he's gonna do. So yeah, I don't really have much in terms of speculation or theory crafting. I've already covered everything I could basically in the last episode, so let's just hop straight into this bad boy, eh? Alright, so that was season 5, episode 4. Pretty straightforward episode, don't really have much to comment on. Um, we got a nice breakdown of Shinso's power, and this is one thing I really like how this show does, is how it makes the powers so kind of. It does a great job of making the powers feel strong, but kind of they always have their weaknesses, right? They all like it's never just a blanket super powerful, no weakness power, right? They always have their shortcomings, and that's all. I like that. But we got a nice rundown of Shinso's power, so I took the time to actually jot down these so I would remember it. So, first of all, he needs to be focused on an individual target and have the desire. Okay, I intend to brainwash this person, right? So before he actually does the brainwashing, he needs to focus on the person and intend to brainwash them, right? It's not impossible to brainwash multiple people, but it would split his focus up so much that it's probably not feasible. Like maybe down the line he can like brainwash two people at the same time, right? After a lot of training, but for the moment at least, brainwashing multiple people is like basically impossible. He just simply doesn't have the experience with the power to be able to focus that easily on multiple people, right? Again, very similar to kind of Aizawa's power, where he's going to kind of focus on someone with his eyes, move on to the next person, move on to the next person. And Aizawa had the glasses, doesn't he, which masks which person he's looking at, and Shinso has the voice modulator, which masks his voice. Kind of a lot of kind of similarities between the two, huh? But yeah, he needs to focus on a person and intend to brainwash them and then do it. But once they're brainwashed, any kind of knock or distraction could potentially wake them up. And he's also limited in what he can actually order them to do. He can't order them to speak, and he can't order them to do anything that requires thinking. So, for example, he couldn't order someone to fight someone else for two reasons. One, fighting someone else would probably wake them up, the shock of it. And two, fighting someone else would require a lot of thinking and strategy. You'd have to think, okay, he's going to throw a punch. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to counter this way. Like it would probably require too much thought and thinking on the part of the person in order to actually do it. Shinso would need to be there manually telling them what to do each time, right? They wouldn't be able to think on their own, presumably, and fight on their own. At least as far as I'm understanding regarding the power. And lastly, it only works if it's his voice. It can't be done through It can't be done through a megaphone or a mic. So he couldn't call a villain. He couldn't call a villain up on the phone and brainwash them, right? He couldn't make a recording of his voice and brainwash them or something like that. It has to be his actual voice from his vocal cords directly. There can't be any kind of interference between the two things, even if it's just something like a megaphone. It has to be directly from his vocal cords. And so his mask, rather than being like a speaker, acts more like an extension of his vocal cords. The way the mask works is I don't fucking know. I don't know how the hell he's able to select a voice to use. That's really weird. But whatever, just anime magic, I guess. I don't know how the hell that's supposed to work, but it does. It's not important. I'll just accept it. Yeah, this was definitely an episode showing us kind of Shinso what he's capable of, but also that he's not reached that point yet. It would have been very easy to just kind of be a thing where, oh, Shinso shows up and he's super badass now. He can take everyone on with his things and he can mind control everyone and he's super badass and powerful. It would have been really easy to do that, but no, like the mangaka took a very kind of reasonable approach, which is, he has a lot of potential, but he's inexperienced. He can't really take people on in a one-on-one fight yet. He isn't able to just save the day by himself. He needs to rely a lot on his teammates and on strategy. It's like, yeah, he's not going to just be super tough and amazing right off the bat, and that makes sense, and I like the fact they did that. But we see a nice use of strategy to overcome the enemy, right? It's just, oh, let's fight each other until one of us wins. No. They strategically try and use their abilities to overcome the enemy, right? Azui, or Tsuyu, whatever you want to call her, Sue, uses her mucus to make the other two smell like her, which of course Werewolf Boy wouldn't know about because even Class A forgets that she has that power, so of course Class B will have no idea. That's a good use of strategy. Then the Vine Lady is forced to blindly reach out for them, at which point Kaminari takes advantage of that and goes in for the electrocution. Some nice strategy, some nice stuff going on, and then Shinso mind controlling the girl not only takes her out of the equation, but also acts as a great way to create confusion and a breakup of communication within Team B's ranks, because if you don't know, if you're going to get mind controlled if you answer Shinso, and Shinso could sound like a teammate, that's going to cause issues, right? You're not going to want to talk to them. If you hear a voice coming from behind you, you're not going to trust it. And in the end, that's exactly what brought them down. Class B might have been able to win that if Werewolf Boy had simply had more trust and turned around. But it's completely understandable why he didn't turn around, because of course you're not going to trust some random voice behind you when you know this person can mimic voices, right? So, as Class A's teamwork built, Class B's teamwork broke apart, got broken down, and it resulted in Class A winning, not through brute strength or being more powerful, but through teamwork and planning and tactics, which is nice. I like that. It's good. It's nice. It's always nice to see smart victories rather than, oh, I'm going to punch you harder victories, But even though Class B won, we did get a nice showcase for them. Werewolf Guy was very capable. He was like, okay, Kirishima is actually a threat to me because he's really strong, so I'm going to take this chance to just fucking throw him away, right? Get their strongest unit out of the playing field right off the bat. Capture the voice guy. He's a good scout. He can locate where we are. We get rid of the strongest unit, we get rid of the scouting unit, and we leave the remaining 3 weak and blind as to our location. It gives us a huge advantage. And also, he utilized his transformation strategically, right? When he needed to be strong, he was strong, but when he needed to be more agile, he would go back into his human form temporarily. Strategic use of the power. Very good. Vine Lady showed her tentacle powers very well, stretching them out, grabbing people. We already knew she was powerful, though. And then I feel like I'm forgetting people. Oh, Air Guy. Air Guy was good at trapping people as well. It seems like his solid air has gotten stronger. If I remember the first time he showed up, Bakugo kind of just punched through it and grabbed him. It definitely seems like his air has kind of gotten stronger and tougher, which is nice. And then, Scales Guy, he was very useful as well, especially when it came to Kaminari. His quick thinking and quick reactions were able to save the day there for his team. Because not only did he have the reaction time to hit the thing and knock it off of Werewolfy Boy, but he also had the reaction time to think, oh, what's going on here? That the electricity's been turned on, let me quickly shoot it off, right? Like that requires some quick thinking. So it was definitely a good showcase for Team B, Class B, and we really got to see that Class B they're not jobbers, right? Like Class B are very capable in their own right. If Shinso wasn't on the team, if Shinso wasn't on Class A's team, and it was just purely Class A versus Class B, it's entirely possible Class B could have won that fight. Entirely possible. In fact, I'd say that it's probably more likely that Class B would have won that, right? It seemed like the main reason Class B lost that was because of the breakdown of communication caused by Shinso. So I would say, actually, if it was just purely Class A versus Class B, I'd probably have put my money on Class B to win that. So it allowed Class B to lose, but at the same time, it didn't make Class B seem weak. If anything, it made them seem really strong, right? It did a great job of showcasing just how tough they are. And just because they're Class B doesn't mean they're B-rate heroes. They're all really strong in their own right. And I like how we're also kind of getting the parallels between Deku and Shinso here. Kind of in a design sense, almost, because like Deku has like the weird curly green hair and he has the white pupils, and then Shinso has the curly kind of purple hair and also the white pupils. That's not exclusive to them. There are other characters with white pupils, but it's just an interesting parallel between them specifically. Deku being someone who was born quirkless, wanting to be a hero but not having the ability to do it. Shinso being someone born with a quirk that didn't allow him to get into a hero course. Even though he wanted to be a hero, his quirk didn't allow it. A lot of parallels between the two. And then we saw at the end there where Deku was talking about his desire to be a hero and whatnot. It showed Shinso, and even though it wasn't Shinso talking, you can infer that he's probably thinking a similar thing, right? Like, if you were watching it, without the audio on, and when you're just looking at the subtitles, you could very easily misinterpret it as being Shinso speaking at that moment, very easily. So it's definitely meant to kind of be a thing where you kind of, it's Deku talking, but it's meant to kind of speak for both of them, right? I'm excited for more Shinso stuff though. I imagine this is going to be similar to I imagine it's going to be a similar situation to Season 1, where they had the team battles, where we got a lot of focus on Bakugo and Deku's teams, and then the rest kind of skimmed through. I imagine that's probably what this is going to be like. The next episode is probably going to have kind of a montage of the remainder of the teams, because Deku was Team 5, right? So he'd be the last team. So if I were to take a guess, just a guess, next episode's probably going to cover like the next 3 battles, and then finish off with a build-up to the final one, and then episode 6 is going to be maybe even 6 and 7, but 6 at the very least would be Deku's team and Shinso's team, right? I would assume that. I mean, it's possible they give an entire episode of focus to each battle, that's not impossible, right? They have done that before, where they kind of give a lot of focus, in Season 3 I believe it was, where they kind of give a lot more focus to the individual battles. I could see that happening for sure, but yeah, I could definitely see next episode potentially being more of a montage thing, where each fight gets kind of like a third of the focus, and then it finishes off building up to Deku versus Shinso and their teams. And then episode 6 is that. Depending on how this is paced, it could either be a very short little mini arc, or it could be if it's like, okay, episode 5 covers 2 more battles, episode 6 covers like 1 and a bit, and like maybe like 1 more battle, and then like the beginning of Deku's, and episode 7, and then maybe even 8 covers like Deku and Shinso's stuff, and then episode like 9 is like a cooldown. I could see this being a longer arc, not longer in terms of like super long, but I could see it covering like a good chunk of the season. But I could also very easily see it being a thing where it's like, no, the next episode is going to be a montage of the next 3 battles, and then like episode 5 is going to be Shinso vs Deku, and that's where the arc ends. I could see it being like a medium length arc or a short length arc. I think personally I prefer a short length arc, because while this is enjoyable, I want to get back into the story. This is definitely enjoyable to see. I'm enjoying it, but I also want my story. I want my lore. So I could see it being a longer arc, not longer, but I could see it being a moderately sized arc if it's paced kind of slower. Personally, though, I'm rooting for faster pacing, because I do want to get into kind of the real story stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't really have much else to say, to be honest. It was a very straightforward episode. It was fun. It was nice seeing Shinso back in action. It was great. Nice seeing how far he's come, but also how far he has left to go. It was nice seeing Team Class B as well, actually doing really well and showing how capable they can be. It's really cool. I like this episode, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So yeah, I'll see you all next week for the next episode. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have wonderful days, and bye-bye.